Hello and welcome to part 2 in the 5-part series of how to parent your anxious child. In part 2, we're going to talk about why it's so important to name your child's anxiety. Stay tuned, that's what's up next. I have worked with so many families who have a really hard time communicating with their child about their anxiety. If you don't have the communication, then you're not going to be able to help your child. And so being able to talk about anxiety with your anxious child is completely key. So how do you do that? And what if you don't have a very articulate kid? It can be done. So let's talk about it. For starters, it's really helpful to externalize anxiety, because when you take it outside of your child and you make it this thing that you guys are all trying to defeat, it's not about trying to defeat them or a part of them. It's about defeating the anxiety. So you need to name it. It works, I know. I name it with every kid I work with, and it makes a tremendous difference right away. So what are you going to call it? For little kids, I recommend calling it, well, it kind of just depends on your kid. I used to call it Mr. Worry, totally uncreative in my therapy practice. Like for a decade, I called it Mr. Worry to all the little kids. And then when I had my own little kid who was anxious, I did kind of my own little therapy thing with him in my home. And I drew my Mr. Worry on the board, and he was like, ugh, that's kind of scary. And he didn't like my Mr. Worry. It's kind of eye-opening because, I had been doing that for over a decade. And he said, Mom, I don't want to worry. I don't want a Mr. Worry. I want a worry cloud because it blocks out my sun. It blocks out my sunshine. I thought, that's kind of sad. So I made a worry cloud, and we call it worry cloud. And then my 5-year-old comes along, and she has anxiety too. And so she has a worry cloud. Now my teenager, she has a dictator. And I wrote a book, Anxiety Sucks. And I always talk about a dictator with that one because that book is geared towards 12 and up. So dictator tends to work really well with the teenagers that I work with and even the young adults because it is a dictator. So find what works for your child. Some kids like to name it something related to their worry. If they have OCD, I also like a Mr. Bossy because it tells you what to do. My son has a little bit of both, and so he has a worry cloud, and then he developed OCD symptoms, and so we incorporated the worry cloud kind of works with the Mr. Bossy, so they work together. When you personify anxiety and you put it outside of your child, now you have a battle that you and your child are ready to fight. Now, one thing that I use with younger kids is I normally try to come up with some sort of oppositional force that helps them fight their worry cloud. And so normally I will do like a super whatever their name is. So Super John is John, but it's the Super John part of him. And Super John will fight the worry cloud or fight Mr. Worry. And that will help you as a parent because you can use that in your daily life to empower your child. So I'll give you a quick example and then we'll be on to part 3. So my 5-year-old was having a really hard time yesterday. Actually, she's been having a hard time for the last few weeks going to swim class because for some reason her worry cloud has told her that she can't side breathe anymore and she's going to drown. So she's been in swim class for like 2 years, but all of a sudden her worry cloud is like dominating. And so I talked to her and I said, look, your worry cloud is super bossy and he's trying to ruin swim class, and you've been doing great in swim class for 2 years. And so you have a choice. You can let your worry cloud win, or you and I can crush your worry cloud, and you can go to class and you can face your fears and you can make him smaller. So that's an example of how you would talk about that with your kids. And she thought about it and she was like, my stomach really hurts. I don't think this is my worry cloud. I think I'm sick. And if you watched part 1 of this series, you know that stomach is the worry cloud's best friend. And so we had to say, I had to teach her that no, that's your worry cloud, and your worry cloud is trying to hit your stomach so that it can win and you can avoid swim class. And so I set up a challenge, which we'll talk about in part, 4. And I said, you can win a chocolate coin. We have gold chocolate coins at home. We have them on purpose because we have a lot of challenges in my house. And I said, if you take this challenge, you can win a chocolate coin when you get home. And she did. And it was a good opportunity for me to praise her abilities to face her fears and beat her worry cloud. So if you name it, that's how you can use it. If you didn't catch part 1, be sure to watch that. And this will be a 5-part series. So next week, we're going to be talking in part 3 about the one thing that a lot of parents with anxious kids miss. And they wonder why their kids aren't doing better. And it's because of this particular thing. So don't forget to subscribe so that you won't miss that episode and the few that will follow it in this series. Until next time, I hope you find the sparkle in every day. I'll talk to you later.